everybody. Welcome. Thank you ever so much for being here. It's fantastic to have you spend some time with me. I do appreciate it. I really do, because I know if you're like 99.9% of the business owners and business people that I speak to, you're really, really busy. You've got loads of stuff you could or even should be doing, and you've taken a quarter of an hour out to spend time with me. So I really do appreciate it. I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I've been on a mission now for 28 years to try and help businesses. You hear statistics like 80% of all businesses go bust within 5 years of starting, and that's a terrible statistic. And why is that? Well, clearly there are many reasons for business failure, but one of them, probably the biggest, in fact, in my opinion, definitely the biggest, is the lack of sales. If you had enough sales, you could overcome any other problems. If you got cash flow problems or people problems or anything like that, you can get over that if you've got enough money. But without enough sales and profitable sales, you're not going to really go too far. And if sales get too bad, you're probably going to disappear, like 80% of businesses do within 5 years. And by the way, if you pass the 5-year mark, don't breathe a sigh of relief, because apparently of the remaining 20%, a full 70% of those go bust by year 10. So, if the first 5 don't get you, the second one probably will. I've been really lucky or fortunate or good or whatever. I've been going for 28 years now. Can you believe that? It seems like a lifetime, and clearly I was very young when I started. But 28 years last May. So it's 28 and just about a half, but who's counting? But anyway, welcome. We're streaming live on LinkedIn. We're also live on Facebook, and we're live on YouTube. We're also via my podcast. We're live on Apple, iTunes, and Amazon Music, and about 30 other places that we have managed to link our podcast to. So it's great to have you here, and thank you ever so much for being so. So today we're going to talk about the 3 keys to increase sales. That's the main subject, but just before that, I want to go through something with you. I've learned a lot of stuff over the years from a lot of people. I've always believed, since my days as a full-time professional table tennis player, that if you're going to get good at something, the best way of doing it is to get around people who are a lot better than yourself. Ideally, have people to help you, to coach you, to train you, to learn from. And I've always done that. And I've spent time round and with and attending seminars by some of the world's leading sales, marketing, and business growth experts. And one of the guys I hold in the highest esteem is a gentleman that you may have heard of called Tony Robbins. Tony's probably the world's leading coach, business advisor type person. Apparently he turns over about 7 billion with a B per year, which is obviously not enough to live on, but it's not a bad start, is it? He is one of the leaders, if that not the leading person in the industry. And Tony has this thing called the 5 keys to success. And just before we talk about sales, I just want to run through this. And I think you'll see the link between success and obviously success in sales. So number 1, Tony says, and if we put this from a sales angle on it, it applies to anything, whether it's success in table tennis or relationship or, weight loss or whatever it is you want to do in your business, it also applies. So you might want to get a pen at this point. So number 1 is to know what you want, and to know exactly what you want, specifically, not what you want. Not I want to grow my business. I want to grow my business from £500,000 to £1 million within the next 12 months. That's a little bit more specific. It's a big goal, because I don't believe in setting little goals. Little goals produce little rewards, and they produce little effort. And so we want to set big, hairy, audacious goals that we can strive to achieve. So know what we want. Number 2, take action. A lot of people know what we want. I want a new Aston Martin. I want a home in Spain. I want a this. I want a that. But what am I actually doing about it? Unless I'm taking action towards it, the answer is it's just a daydream. It's just something, you know, we all want a bigger house and a better this and a better that and so on and so forth. But it's really about taking action ultimately, because if you don't take action, you're not going to get there anyway. Action is the cure-all. It is the key to almost everything. Obviously, taking the right action, and that links into point 3. Tony calls it sensory acuity. What it actually means, in my opinion, is noticing whether what you're doing is working or not. You know, that's it. And so many people come to me when I start working with them, and to be honest, they, generally speaking, do not have a clue in terms of their sales and marketing. I'll tell them, you know, I'll ask them questions like, you know, tell me, how many leads do you get? They'll say, well, 20. And where do they come from? Where do they? Oh, I don't really know. And well, we do LinkedIn. We do some paid ads, but I don't think that's working very well. I go to the odd networking event, and we've got a website, and we're on Facebook as well, and the list of things that they're doing, but they have no clue as to where those 20 leads are coming from. So have sensory acuity. Notice whether what you're doing, you know, if you've got a sales team, where are the leads coming from? Where's the sales coming from? That's a really 2 important questions. And then number 4 is, if it's not working, you change your approach. You know, so many people drift from one thing to another without ever really looking at what they're doing. Let me give you an example. LinkedIn. I have people all the time tell me, well, you know, I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't really win any business from it. Well, why the hell not? Well, it's probably because I don't do very much. Well, that could be true, yeah. What do you actually do? Oh, well, what I do is I post on there once a fortnight. Well, that would account for it then. You're not doing enough. You've got to do more, you know, and so on. So we've got to change our approach. It's not that LinkedIn doesn't work, or Facebook doesn't work, or Twitter, or whatever it's called now, X, whatever, or websites. So many people have a website that they don't win any business from. So many of them. I'm going to say over 95% virtually never or rarely win business from their website. Why is that? Because they do nothing to drive traffic to it, and the site doesn't convert. It's nothing to do with the design. It's nothing to do with the pictures. It's everything to do with traffic and conversion. And if your site doesn't have loads of traffic going to it, and when traffic does go, if it doesn't convert, then there's something wrong with that. So we need to change our approach. You with me? And last one, and Tony says this is like the icing on the cake, and that is modeling success. Find somebody who's got what you want, do the same things, you get the same results. So that I've always done, always believed in, apart from when I was at school and I was taught not to copy other people, because that was cheating. That's absolutely the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard. Copy other people. Not, let me just be clear, when I say that, I'm not talking about copying the words from their website, but you can go and learn from Apple. You know, do you think they've got a rough idea what they're doing in terms of design? They're probably the best designed stuff in the world, you know? Is there anything you could learn from Nike? Is there anything you could learn from Tony Robbins? How could you adapt that for you, whatever they're doing? Not necessarily, well, not at all copying it. It's modeling it, which is a different thing. Okay, so that's that. Let me just get that out to the way. I thought that might be useful for you. So just to clarify, know what you want, take action, notice whether it's working, If it's not working, change your approach and shortcut time by modeling somebody or a company that's already successful at what they do, and adapt that to your industry and your business. I hope it was worth it just for that. And now let's talk about the 3 keys. The 3 keys for increasing sales. Number 1, and this is really simple. I love this. Raise your game. Key number 1 is to raise your game. What game? The game called sales. What it is you're doing. You know, and how are you going to do that then? Well, there's a couple of things. One, you could, depends how you structured and what you're doing. But let me give you an example. Perhaps you make sales calls. Now, hopefully you're not cold calling, but maybe you're calling people that you're connected to on LinkedIn. You're calling inquiries from your email, or calling the people that open up emails and click through to your website, or maybe you're following up from exhibitions or networking events that you've attended and met people and got their business cards and so on, but you're making calls. So how can you improve that? Well, number 1, you could just make more calls. You know, I know that sounds very simple, but you know, if you're making at the moment 10 calls a day, and that's equaling 2 meetings, and that's equaling 1 sale, then just make 20 calls a day or 40 calls a day. And potentially that should just about double the amount of meetings and sales you get, shouldn't it? You know, if I make 10 and get 2 meetings, 1 sale, if I made 20, I should get 4 meetings and 2 sales. That's just doubled your business. Now, perhaps I can also raise my game by improving the effectiveness of me when I get on the phone. So instead of making 10 calls and getting 2 meetings and getting 1 sale, perhaps I could make 10 calls the same and get 3 meetings, or maybe even 4 meetings. I could get 4 meetings and 2 sales, and then I could double it and make 20 calls. You with me? So there are things that I could do in terms of what I say, in terms of how I say it, in terms of how I improve my answering objections and my questioning skills, and so on and so forth. Right through that sales process, there are ways of improving my ability on the phone. I can raise my game. I could also think about my overall sales system. What actually happens? You know, what's the first thing that happens when an inquiry comes in? What happens then? And then after that, and after that, and after that, and after that, and after that. Because for most people, that's only 3 after that. It's like when they come in, an email goes out to say somebody will contact them in 24 hours. Then a day or 2 later, somebody will phone, and then they'll send them a quote, and then perhaps they'll follow up once or twice. So maybe there's like 4 or 5 stages. But the truth is that it takes between 8 and 12 contacts to make a sale, or so they say. I never believe these, whoever they are, but, I do believe that people drop the ball too early. They give up. They think, oh, well, they're not interested. I phoned them twice and they've not returned my call, so therefore they're not interested. And that, quite frankly, is often BS. It's just not the case. It could be, but it's not always the case. Let's put it that way. So, there's things that you can do there. What about your system, your process when you meet people? Is that as good as it could be? Are there things that you could do? When somebody says something like, well, I want to think about it, Steve. Or when somebody says, I don't have the budget right now, or, the time's not good right now. We're really busy, Steve. Call me back in 3 months' time. What do we say to those things? Because they're, Call me back in 3 months' time. What's going to happen when I call them back in 3 months' time? They're still going to be busy. That's not going away. So really what that is often, for me anyway, my belief is that is code word for no. That is code word for no. People are nice. They don't want to say no. They just say, call me back in 3 months' time. Sometimes, not always, but you get the idea. So, number one is to raise your game. Number two is to take massive action. Let me ask you a question. When you are doing anything and you do a little bit of it, like a little bit on LinkedIn, a little bit of search engine optimization, a bit of networking, you go to Chamber of Commerce once a month, but sometimes you miss it because you don't want to go, or you're busy or whatever. What sort of rewards do we get in life generally if we don't do anything? You take going to the gym, doing the weights. What rewards do you get for going to the gym every weekend, every Saturday? Saturday's my gym day. What sort of rewards do we get? Well, the truth is, you know the truth. You don't need me to tell you, but the truth is you get very little rewards. But let's say we raised our game and we went from poor, which going once a week is fairly poor. I suppose it's better than not going at all, being a member and not going. But going at once a week, let's just say that's the standard called poor. And instead of that, we go 2 or 3 times. So we're good. We're pretty much what everybody else in the gym does. What sort of rewards do we get for being good at sales or going to the gym? We get an okay result. We do okay. Most people in sales are good. They do a good job. They think they try their best, but the truth is there's another level. Because when we're good at something, we get sort of poor rewards. We don't do that well. If we raise our game again to a level called excellent, when we're in the top 10%, then we get good rewards. And that's just not fair, is it? I'm committed. I'm going to the gym 2, 3, perhaps even 4 times. I'm going to that sales gym. I'm doing some training in sales every day. I'm doing stuff. I'm improving, but we're still only getting a good reward. And people think, well, that's it. That's as good as I could get. No, it's not. There's a level above that called outstanding. When you stand out, when you do more than what is reasonable, that's where you get all the rewards. I win 100 grand a year from LinkedIn every year after year. I've got a system for doing it. I know it works. Yeah, I've just got a new client in Argentina, would you believe? Well, I think I have actually. He's not quite confirmed, to be honest. But, how did I get that? Well, I got it on LinkedIn. There are so many opportunities out there on LinkedIn, but you've got to be on LinkedIn. I don't know how many posts you do per day on LinkedIn, but mine is somewhere between 5 and 15 every day. Monday to Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I'm on there. I'm known, right? One of the biggest problems that we've all got in sales is that word obscurity. We're just not known. We're not doing enough. We're not making enough calls. We're not sending enough emails out. We're not communicating with people on a one-to-one basis on LinkedIn enough. We need to do more. And you're thinking, well, I'm really busy, Steve. But what you need to do is think to yourself, if I don't do this, if I don't do what Steve's saying now, I'm going to get potentially the same rewards as I've always got. That old saying, if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got. But I'm here to tell you, that's no longer the case. If you always do what you've always done, you're not even going to get what you've always got. And that is the truth of the matter. So we need to do more. You know, in today's age with, you know, the economy and the war in the Ukraine and the, you know, inflation and blah, 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 we need to do more, not less. People pull back. You know, I hear it all the time. People pulling back. They're thinking, oh, well, you know, I better take it. You know, I better not invest. I better not do this. Nobody, you know, you only need to listen to the media, and you know, we'd never bother doing anything ever again, really. You know, because it's a waste of time. No, it's not a waste of time. And there are businesses right now who are incredibly successful. Do you want to join them? That's the real question. If you do, you're going to have to take massive, consistent, ongoing action. And that's really my message in point 2. Point 3, or the third key, if you will, is to work on your positioning, your perception, and your brand. The one way of getting people to come to you is to work on those 3 things. Let's look at your positioning. You know, if you're a consultant, a coach, an advisor, an accountant, a professional service, if you're in the, what I'd call in the helping industry, you know, what's your positioning like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 5 being average, pretty much the same as everybody else, 10 being like, you know, this person's clearly one of the biggest, you know, experts, or, you know, most respected people in their industry, or respected company in their industry, or that, you know, you're down in the, you know, kicking around in the mud and the dirt. You know, where are you right now in terms of work on your positioning? And what could you do? What could you do to improve your positioning in the market? What could you do to improve the perception of you? Do you need to have a rebrand? Do you need a new website? Do you need to improve your logo and the use of colors and your brand as a whole? Do you need to write a book on whatever it is you do? You know, if I was a landscape gardener, let me give you an example. If I was a landscape gardener, I'd write a book on landscape gardening. And every time I went to do a quote, I'd leave them a copy of my book as a thank you for their interest. Because people are typically going to get 2 or 3 quotes to get their garden landscaped. You know, it's perhaps a good few £1,000 to get it done. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's £5,000. So I'm probably going to get 2 or 3 quotes. And when I've got those quotes, you know, I got 3 quotes, and give or take 10%, they're fairly similar. But one guy gave me a book, and that book was on landscape gardening. Now, not only does that induce the law of reciprocation, you know, because I've given them something, they're more likely to give me something back, i.e. the work. But it also positions me as an expert. Oh, wow, Steve's written a book on it. He must be really good. Not necessarily the case. You know, you can go and get a book written by somebody in India or Malaysia or wherever, you know, and they can do that for you without you lifting a finger these days. You probably get Chat GPT to write a book for you, to be honest. But, you know, the point being that, you know, is it worth it? And well, I think it is. Yeah, it could be really beneficial to you in terms of your business. But the truth of the matter is, you know, everything counts. Everything, you know. I don't know whether you noticed, I've got my results T-shirt on here. That's all part of our branding. You know, if you look at my background here, you notice we're all black. You know, generally speaking, there it's black and white. I do actually have. I'll just show you this, because you know, it just sort of links into what I'm saying right now. If I can find it, I will anyway. I do have like a virtual background. I don't like using it for these things, but not always. I tend to use it in my meetings, but you can see that now, you know. So does that improve the perception of Steve because it's a bit more professional than his normal background. Well, arguably it does. I hate this fuzziness around here, all this stuff. That's why I tend not to use it. I really ought to invest in a green screen, didn't I? But perhaps that's the way of me raising my game and improving things. But anyway, that's about it for today, I think. I've gone on a little bit longer than I intended, so apologies for that. Thanks ever so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Thanks very much.